Okay, so I was watching the new Transformers movie, and every time there's something about the slow movement. There's something about, like, that movie 300. There's something about the going and then stopping and then slow motion and then like it keeps going. And I was watching the Transformers movie, and when they jump over the bridge or they do something, they sort of like become pixelated, like if they had cells, they sort of like move and then snap back together. And it made me think about, and when I saw that, I got the feeling down my neck, and it's like this wave of, like, when I see that happen and then I feel that in my body, I'm like, I wonder if it's the same thing. Because I mean, you never really know what's actually happening. It's moments like that where I wonder why these things aren't talked about in science. I mean, are they? Maybe I should research that more often. Because I wonder about all these things that I can actually feel in my body. And I'm like, what is it? What is that? Do we know what that is? Has anybody thought about that feeling? It just sort of, I mean, sometimes it happens on your back, sometimes it happens on just your arm. I mean, I know what Spirit tells me. Spirit tells me that it's like you're accepting change, or you're accepting something. It's like a different frequency or a different vibration, or I can picture it in my brain. What is that? How do I explain it? They're like shutters. I'm picturing like this board. I'm picturing like a board like this, okay? And you've got I know there's a name for it. And you've got like these little things that sort of flip up, right? Uh Man, I wish I knew how to describe this. And it's like when you totter it over, it's like flip, 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 and it kind of like flips all the way down. So it goes from maybe like one color to the next, or sometimes it can like spin, and it sort of just spins all the way down. That's the way I picture it. Kind of like, my mom used to have this, like, it's like a picture, but it's got oil and it's got grains of sand in it. And you would flip it over, and it would just kind of like move down into like another moonscape. And I sort of picture that, but like in your body. But it feels like flipping, like something's flipping around. And what I picture also in my brain are like these little tiny, I mean, not probably really tiny, like squares, metal squares, like maybe metal pieces that sort of flip around and change. Little metal squares, like little metal sheets. And it kind of makes me think, because I watched this YouTube video, and it was showing people being concerned about the metal in their food, and it talked about, on one negative spectrum, we're thinking, okay, they're shoving metal in our bodies. However, we're okay. You know what I mean? Like, instead of looking at it as negative, what if there's really an awesome, positive Transformer outcome? I know it sounds wild, but you never know. Science fiction really isn't all that science fiction. So it showed, like, okay, like baby formula, and it showed cereal, actually. It's like, they would crunch it up into a very fine powder, and then they would put it in a blender. They would put some water in the blender, blend it up. Then they would put it into a plastic bag, seal it, kind of smooth it out on a surface. And then they would take a magnet, and actually, that's how I found it, because I was so into magnets at the time, which wasn't even that long ago. And they would take this giant, not giant, I guess it was like this big, like a cylinder. and they would sort of like move and detach, move, detach, until they went through all of that whole bag, and then they would kind of like move it to one corner, and it was like, you know, it was like maybe that much in like a bag, say, you know, that big or whatever. So it's a smaller amount, but when you really think about it, like over time, they just sort of like mix together. So it's kind of like you have, because they keep talking about water too. They keep talking about water molecule being the spirit molecule. And when I think about that, and then I also think about metal and how we tend to freak out about it. And well, maybe it's just me. I was kind of like concerned about it because I simply didn't know enough. And even though I don't really know all the science behind it, I know that I tend to have this intuition that says, well, now wait a minute. What if it's something else? What if it's something we don't need to push out of our system? Maybe it's something that's gonna be something even more awesome. You never know, you know what I mean? Like, you never know. I mean, it is what it is. So instead of freaking out about it, it's like just accepting more possibilities of what it actually could be. I was also thinking about, okay, so there's also more that I've been experiencing. This has to do with my hearing. My hearing, I'm starting to realize that, because they keep telling me that what I see is not really what it is, and what I hear, it's what, okay, what the general population sees and hears is not exactly what it is. And they keep telling me that the Akashic records are like everything that's around me, like what I listen to when spirit talks to me. I mean, there's different frequencies. There's all kind of frequencies. But it seems to be the same message no matter what frequency I listen to. It kind of is the same message, you know. And they keep telling me that, like, you know, the trees are Akashic records, and the winds Akashic records. I mean, it's basically everything that we perceive are Akashic records. But lost my train of thought. One second. I'm here bound to. Man, I forgot what I was even saying. Oh yeah, okay. So at night, you know, I got the fan going. I like to listen to the fan. It sort of like soothes me, you know. These background noises, like, say, the refrigerator, you know, that humming noise. We get so used to it. It's just sort of in the background. It just becomes part of the song and dance that we live in this time period right now. Well, same thing with the fan. It just becomes so natural to me, like the sound of traffic. You know, I live right on a very, very busy street, but it doesn't bother me because the house preceding this one, I lived on a really busy street, so it becomes this background noise, you know? And in that moment, it's very calming because it's just like listening to crickets, or it's like listening to wind, or like listening to raindrops fall. I mean, these are all pieces of a much larger puzzle, I think. Because, you know, the chakras, right? And the chakras, you know, you watch movies like The Dark Crystal, and you watch movies like, well, I mean, like Monks or something like that, and you always picture these you know, there's like a certain sound. Well, the is like the bass, the bass line, the bowels, this is very deep, and there's something about the bowels that just like not with the sound of the bowels, you know. It's so silly to say. It's this deep, like Randy Travis, just very deep, and that's a sound that I really like a lot. because it's just so powerful. Like the dream I talked about with the mountains, and it was like this resonating frequency of just the bass line. It's so massively powerful. And at night, I can actually hear those frequencies, you know, all the way up. I mean, there's lots of frequencies. I'm sure I don't hear them all, but if I really tried to, I probably could hear more and more and more. I mean, I know I must be, because this is something that is relatively new, maybe only a week now. I toned into the chakras. I can actually hear them now. And depending on how I'm sitting, it's like you can tell when you're this is, I know it's probably uncomfortable to talk about, but it's like you can tell when you're all tensed up down there, you know? You're just you're not really relaxed, because maybe you're doing some physical activity, or maybe you're uncomfortable with the situation and you sort of tense up somewhere. But you can always tell when you're relaxed. You just sort of like, you know, drink some coffee or whatever, and you sort of zone out, or music or something, and you just kind of like, oh, you can relax, you know, and you can actually feel, you know, your bowels sort of just relax, you know. And I noticed that at night, because I'm such a hyper individual, that when I relax, I know I'm relaxed. It's such a different feeling for me, because I'm so hyper. So maybe that's why I notice it more easily when I'm actually relaxed. And so when I'm laying down, you know, in my bed at night, I can hear the chakras, and I can hear that my it's so funny to talk about. My base chakra is like kind of muffled, I guess is the way to say it. And I just sort of like relax, and then it's like this, oh, like I can't do it. It's it's way deeper than that. And I'm like, what? I mean, it's so funny to talk about, because it's so real. It's so real on some other frequency that I can literally hear other people's chakras. I can hear my roommate's chakras. I can hear the heart chakra. The heart chakra sounds totally different. It's like, it sounds like crystalline fluid, but I can picture it. See, it's the pictures, you know? It's like I imagine the heart as being this crystalline structure, but it's like kind of fluid, like something moves through it, so it's kind of like prisms, like what's it called? Like those things on a door, those beads on a door. And it's like, imagine instead of just like one little sheet of those beads, you've got like a lot of them, okay? And it's like in the shape of a heart. Like, I know some museums, they got something like that. Well, imagine that you had like fluid in between all of those lines, and it's like this beautiful crystalline fluid, you know? It's still got a structure, but it's like fluid. And then you imagine like a wave going through there, and it's like this symphony. It sounds like a string symphony of crystal. I know it doesn't really make sense to describe it that way, but it's like, it sounds like that to me, because when I hear it, that's what I picture in my mind. So whether it makes sense or not, somehow there's a connection to that. And it is scientific, because, you know, the crystalline structure is like a perfect structure. And, you know, ice, I always think of ice. I think of ice as, and it's got this perfect crystalline structure. Then I think of snow, and the snowflakes are just like amazing structures, and there's so many of them, and it's this sacred perfect geometry that's all over the place, like the Mandelbrot set. It's like our whole world is covered in this amazing structure. I totally went on a tangent just now. Okay, so in short, what I'm saying is that I hear spirit, but what I'm hearing is these other dimensions where we look at a TV, but if I hone in on a different frequency, I don't hear just the TV. I hear people speaking through the TV, but it's not really the TV. It's just what we see in our eyesight that shows us it's a TV. But in all reality, It's a different dimension that expresses itself in our dimension as a TV. But in another dimension, maybe we're a TV. You know what I mean? Like, it's all about listening, because yeah, it's a fan, but is it just a fan? I mean, it creates wind. Okay, that's an element. And when I hear the wind that I am creating by plugging into a power source, which is what I think of the sun. See, I see pictures. This is what helps me connect, is like an immediate picture. Yes, it's a fan. However, we're creating wind. And we're creating that wind by plugging into a power source, and I picture the sun. These are all these elements. And so when I put the sun and the wind together, I can hear it as these vibrations. But when I listen to something more than just the wind, I mean, even by changing my ears, I can actually hear something totally different. So it's like I hear the chakras, because that makes me think of olden times. You know, it makes me think of like the ancients, the firsts, you know, the big guys, the giants, and these, you know, because of the mountains and the trees and the oceans, and it's these elements, the air, well, you know what I mean. And it's like I hear that because I now tune into a different frequency, and I hear the elemental value behind this wind structure that we created. So we can hear it in the wind outside or the wind in this fan, but in all reality, maybe we're seeing these things as separate, and it's actually just a different dimensional experience by having this fan. Do you know what I mean? It's really interesting, because it seems like whenever I'm talking, the traffic outside is like, and whenever I stop talking, there's like a slight lag in time, because it goes and then it sort of like stops. And whenever I think something and I don't speak, it's like I hear a plane go by, and I'm like, what? It's like my brain is literally sending a message to a different plane of existence. And whenever, oh, okay, and this is another one. I know some people must feel this. So it's like, have you ever been in a moment where you figure something out, but you know intuitively it's like something huge, right? You like think about something, and then you make a connection in your mind about something else, and you're like it stops you dead in your tracks, right? Like you just stop. Oh wow. Just by remembering that. See, and this is interesting. I felt my nasal cavities get wild, and look, well, you can't see it, but the trees literally responded to that, and they're blowing all over the place. And they weren't doing that just a second ago. It's like literally, it's communication of some sort. It's amazing. But anyways, that truth moment, that resonating truth moment that just relaxes you and stuns you. And you immediately feel your body relax, because in that moment, everything aligns. Everything. It's like you figure something out and bam, it's total alignment, and you feel like you released an amazing truth. And every time that happens, it's like it doesn't really matter what expresses that in this reality. I know that it's still the same expression of the bowels of history, or the bowels of the bowels period. Because whether it's, you know, I'm trying to think of a way to describe it, say like a motorcycle far away, or a truck like the Jake brake or something, but it'll be so deep, like a truck will go by and it's not loud, it ends up being this bass filled, like, you know what I mean? And it's like whenever I hit that moment of truth, I am shown that by the frequency that's immediate. It's immediate. Man, so cool. yeah, so try that out. Try that out. You know, go outside and just sort of like, think about an answer that you want or something that's kind of confusing. And you can actually use your world around you as a communication tool. They tell you like where it exists in a certain frequency, just by feeling what you're hearing, what you're seeing, what you're thinking, the sky, the earth, the bowels, the brain, and it's like, also listen to the way your heart feels. You get excited. You get excited because I don't even know what that is. Where you get so it's so funny. When you get so excited, you like feel this little explosion. When you think about somebody you really love, or like a moment in time where you were like so excited, and then it makes you breathe in real fast, and I feel like something released, like a secretion or something happened, like right here, and I'm like, what is that? Or like whenever I hit immediate truth, it's like this feeling of like those little slats I talked about, flip, 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 flip. It goes right down my spinal cord. Like I'm literally making a physical body change on the inside just by feeling that. And I can feel it from the wind. I can feel it, the winds of time, the winds of change. It's almost as if like they are connected, the winds of time. But it's like my body alone can feel that without the outside world, which is actually, oh, whoa, that was cool. I literally went like this, and the tree kind of moved a little bit this way. Dude, what? I don't know. Just try it out. Just try some of this stuff out. You gotta like slow down a little bit to like really check it out, but you'll find that, oh, it's amazing. It's totally amazing. The wind just picked up again. Yeah, so check that out. Check that out. Also, something else I noticed is that, the four, I keep seeing like four quadrants, and I relate it to the brain, maybe because I relate it to hearing, but it's also sensing. We got like, we got the quadruped thing going on. So it's like there's like symmetry, but there's also the two sides, and I kind of wonder, because I notice when I get really zoned in the moment, I'm outside and I'm just kind of like, that animalistic, really in tune with your senses feeling. And it's like I'll literally be standing there, right? And I'll feel something like move me this way. It's a real, like, you gotta like really slow your body down. And that's why I think at night it's easier, because there's a lot less traffic, so you can hone in on like your Akashic record, which is everything, but it's like the base product, the trees, the wind, the ground. It's like you get in this moment where like you feel like you want to look this way, so you move real slow, and then it's like you literally can hear or feel something right here, and then all you gotta do is like move your eye that way because something's there, but then you see a car come from the place you were just looking. It's like something about wherever you look or wherever you feel something, there's something on the other side. At least that's what I have found from my own experiences, that there's something about the four. There's something about where you perceive something to be. There's always something on the other side. There's always something connected. And it's like this push-pull dynamic, maybe, because you always know when something's coming by the direction that you are. You know what I mean? I don't know how to explain it any better than that. It's just this intuitive, this primal, this instinct, this animalistic instinct, because we are animals. We're these sophisticated animals, and there's no reason why we got to look at it as savage. It's actually quite beautifully amazing, So yeah, just, try to check that out. Just take a few minutes per day and just sort of go outside and really feel what you're feeling. And also, one other thing I noticed is that sometimes when you let the wind in, it's a little bit different than when you flex all the time because you're cold. I find that there's something really beautiful about letting the wind in through your body. It's like, in a way, you give thanks to that movement, that change. Because yes, you can feel it in your mind, the memories, and you feel it in your mind, and it sends a little chill down your spine, and you make change because you're remembering something. But in all reality, it's the same thing, because you let the wind in through your outside world, and you still feel that same chill, that same change. And it's like, in some ways, it's almost more powerful because it's a whole body experience. And it makes me wonder as to why, clothes in the Bible are made such a big deal about. Like, they found something out and then they decided to clothe themselves. Because sometimes I wonder how much change our bodies and our world could really make if we just let in these elements. And instead of being really cold, if we just sort of stood there and let it rush over us, all those little slats, flip, 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 like so many flips, that we would literally be able to change our entire structure, or we'd be able to just receive more frequencies and more colors. And I mean, the possibilities are so endless, because I just think of all these amazing things that could happen if we just let it in. Yeah. I think that's all I have for right now. There's just so much. I really need to do this every day. Sometimes I get going and I shouldn't, I should just feel it in the moment and start talking about it. Go back to doing more than one a day or whenever it hits me. Because it's so much. I try to say it all at once and then it's like kind of confusing sometimes. So, yeah, that's all I got for right now. Thanks for watching.